King Saul, before he was king, was sent out by his dad to look for his donkeys that got lost. And he'd looked for a couple days, and finally his servant says, hey, we ought to go over here to such and such a city. There's a prophet there named Samuel. He knows everything. Let's ask him where the donkeys are. So they do. So they go over to Samuel's there, and Samuel looks at Saul, and he says, your donkeys have been found. Now, follow this. What does Saul want? All he wants to know is where the donkeys are. What does Samuel do, the prophet? He says, your donkeys have been found. Come back tomorrow, and I'll tell you all that's in your heart. And the next day he came back. Solomon gave him the prophetic call to become king. What's the point? When you answer the question the world has, it'll position you to answer the question they should have. We're going to wrap it up with a passage out of, Proverbs 22. So if you turn there quickly, I forgot to ask when this one was over. When does the floor open and consume the preacher? I don't know. Hopefully not soon. Oh, I got a clock right there. Never mind. I don't know how to instill this passion in you any more than just to say, please consider wisdom as the primary focus of your life for this next season. Please consider the role of wisdom for you and your place of influence in the world around you. I personally believe that the Lord has hidden the secrets for societal transformation in the book of Proverbs. One of the ways wisdom is seen is through this wonderful word called excellence. Everybody in this room has an opportunity to live with excellence. Regardless of where you are in society and the economic strata, the way that whether you're the poorest of the poor or the richest of the rich makes no difference to me. Whatever realm of culture and society you have been assigned to in this season of your life, you have the opportunity to live with excellence. And when you live with excellence, you model kingdom. Here's the tragedy. The counterfeit of excellence is perfectionism. Perfectionism is religion. Excellence is kingdom. If you can learn the difference, the Lord will open doors to you because of the excellence that rests upon your life. Proverbs 22, verse 29, do you see a man who excels in his work? He will stand before kings. He will not stand before unknown men. What is that saying? It's saying basically two things. If you want to be a person of influence, then you'll have to embrace excellence as a supreme value of your life. Now remember, excellence is an expression of wisdom. I don't have time to go into this today, but this is something that consumes us literally day in and day out at home because of where God has positioned us for this next season. He says, show me a person of excellence, and I'll show you somebody who's going to stand before kings. What does that mean? It means that excellence in any one of our lives always gives us a position of access to influence in a part of culture and society that we have no way of getting into naturally. In other words, the Lord promotes us into a place of influence that we could never get there through our own gifts, through our own resources, our own dollars, or on whatever. It's simply because wisdom has had an expression in and through us that created excellence. It could be in technology, it could be in medicine, it could be in the way you run your family. It could be in the way you take care of yourself, your own area of health and mental, emotional health, physical health. It could be in any of these areas, but the Lord will always take that which is excellent about you, and he will promote you in the eyes of people. Now here's the second part. It says that person of excellence will stand before kings. So what does that say? It tells us that kings, leaders of nations, of technology, of artists, athletes, all these realms of society, they all have been given by their position in society. They've been given a God-given appetite for excellence. So that means then the tool that come into their atmosphere to bring influence is excellence. Now here's the warning that follows. It's actually in the next chapter, but it follows the same thought. Verse 23. When you sit down to eat with the ruler, consider carefully what is before you. Put a knife to your throat if you're a man given to great appetite. Okay, now think through this with me. I've got to do this quickly, but I want to make sure you catch this. He says, when you sit down to eat with a ruler, who's he talking to? He's talking to the person in the last verse that said yes to the lifestyle of excellence. So he didn't say if, he says now when. You're the person of excellence? Okay. When you sit down to eat with a ruler, when you are brought into an environment that you couldn't have earned, when you're in this circle of influence that you never could have bought, you're there because of divine promotion. Promotion comes from the Lord. When you find yourself in that environment, if you're a person that tends to want whatever is around you, if you tend to want what other people have, then choose self-imposed restriction. Put a knife to your throat. What does that mean? It means I know that I'm in an environment where it's natural for me to want what other people have. I am going to ignore what they have and value my place of influence above what they possess. Because I'm not willing to compromise and trade my influence for what they possess. Because that's exactly what happens. The person suddenly in that environment starts wanting what the ruler has. What happens? The ruler sees it and he no longer wants their influence. Why? Because they sacrificed who they were for what he has. This is key. This is absolute key for transformation of society. It's the role that you and I play by illustrating, demonstrating wisdom. It may be in work where you have a certain level of influence and yet the manager or the owner of the business suddenly promotes you because he sees something about your life. I just ran out. I just realized my heart stopped beating and I'm dead. This must be heaven. I didn't expect this. Let me wrap it up with this thought. I'll wrap it up with an additional thought. Again, Solomon's life is of great, great interest to me. Has been for quite a few years. The Queen of Sheba travels with a very large entourage. She is carrying enormous amount of treasure and gold. So you know she has to have a military encampment about her just to protect the goods that she is carrying. She's bringing this to Solomon to give to him as a gift. When she comes with her entourage, she comes in before the king and she asks him the hardest question she can think of. She has an appetite for wisdom. She has an appetite for knowledge, for understanding. She has been told that Solomon is the wisest person on the planet, and her passion, even though she's the ruler in one country, she's willing to sit as a servant in another. The servants in some environments are better off than the kings in others. Don't ever forget it. And so she comes and she sits at the feet of Solomon. Her conclusion is, the half was not told me. The half was not told. I can't believe that I have heard what I've heard for these last however many weeks or months that she was there. She says, I am stunned. And the Bible says she became silent. There was no more breath in her. If you and I will embrace the wisdom of the Lord, the world will finally become silent once again. They only speak where the church is silent. So here she is. And there's a summary of the impact of Solomon's life on her. And this is a strange passage. It says, she was stunned by his answers. And then it gives the weirdest list in the world. It says, it was the place settings at the dinner table. It was the attire of his servants. It was the stairs that went from his house to the house of God. What are these things? Clothing, plates, stairs. These are all everyday, mundane things that when divine wisdom touched them, they became broadcasting platforms, broadcasting the nature and the excellence of God through the mundane. Wisdom touched the mundane. And every accountant in the room, every dentist, every housewife, every preacher of the gospel on the streets, every person that has anything to do to impact culture and society, that wisdom will take the stairways of your life to broadcast the nature of God to a world that is crying out for some answers to how to do life. Let's stand.